Hello, and welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk with immigration attorney Brian D. Lerner. This particular week, I'd like to talk a little bit about the law on asylum and why a person coming to the U.S. Cannot just be turned around and away without an opportunity to apply. So, let me tell you the procedure. So, first of all, when someone comes to the U.S., and they say they fear going back to their home country. They have the right to essentially speak to an asylum officer. The asylum officer then conducts what's called a credible fair interview. And during that credible fair interview, the officer will determine whether or not the person coming in has a realistic fear of going back to their home country, and if so, then it's not that the officer grants asylum, it's that the officer then transfers the case to the immigration court where the person can fight their case in front of the immigration judge. So, obviously, if the initial credible fair interview finds there are no grounds for asylum, they will deny it, and then there is an appeal period, but they will deny it, and basically the person's returned to their home country. So why do I bring this up now? Well, this big caravan is coming to the United States from Central America. The people that are in the caravan, there's thousands of them. Some of them have suffered persecution. Some of them will suffer persecution. Some of them qualify for asylum. Some of them don't qualify for asylum, but they all have the right to enter the United States and try to claim asylum. The United States is part of international treaties which permit this. The immigration laws of the United States have tons of laws on the books, cases from the Board of Immigration Appeals to the Circuit Court of Appeals cases, federal cases to Supreme Court cases, and this goes back many, many years. So when Trump says that he's going to deploy, thousands of troops at the border and that he's not going to let them in, he may be the president of the United States, but he doesn't have the authority to override all asylum law, to violate international treaties for people coming to claim asylum. Now, there's a whole big difference between opening the doors to the United States and just letting thousands of people in and saying, have fun, goodbye, as opposed to a process where they can apply for asylum, they can determine whether or not the credible fair interview is passed or not. They may end up in detention. They can apply for parole. There's all kinds of stuff that can be done, but each case under the law is allowed to go through in order to make a determination on the merits of whether or not, one, there's a credible fear of persecution, and then next, whether or not asylum should be granted. And in the end, the reality is let's say that all 5,000 of these people come into the United States and all 5,000 apply for asylum. The reality is that probably about 80% of them, for one reason or another, will not qualify, will not win, and will either appeal or be returned to their home country. The United States, the reason it's part of the treaty is that if someone is being persecuted in their home country, that they have a right to claim asylum in the U.S. We, the U.S., don't want people to suffer by persecution, and whether it's religious, political, in a social group, because of race or nationality. We abhor that, and we don't want that. So when the President of the United States essentially says, stop, you're not coming in, what he's doing is he is violating the laws on asylum. He is violating the international treaties which allow those people to apply for asylum, and he cannot unilaterally disregard all asylum law and all international treaties on this matter. The reality, which I'm sure he knows by now, is that if he does that, there will be lawsuits upon lawsuits, basically stating that these people have a right to apply for asylum. They don't necessarily have a right to win. They have to prove their case. They have to get evidence. They have to have a trial, witnesses, testimony. It's not easy to win an asylum case, but it's one thing having a right to apply for it, and it's another thing having the door shut in front of you without even applying. So, if any of you know any of these people coming up from Central America, just have them give me a call, and I'll determine if there's a valid asylum claim. And then what we do is we prepare the credible fear interview packet, and then, assuming past that, we then represent them in asylum hearings. So if you like the video, click like, subscribe, and more on the coming videos. Thank you.